Hi, it's Cheryl from Caribou Country Lifestyle. So, why did we decide to homestead in our 50s? Is probably a question that a lot of people ask. We just have always thought about it, to homestead, growing our own food, and I think it just took this long to be in a position to finally make it happen. We moved to this property. It'll be 2 years in September that we purchased this property. It's 1.25 acres, not a lot of excess property, and we have found that this is manageable, I guess, to start for us. When we first bought the property, we bought it 2 years ago in September. The following spring, it would have been March of 2020, we had ordered chicks for the first time. So we ordered meat bird chicks. We got Cornish game, the Cornish cross, and we also got some Western rustics. So we only actually ordered 15 birds just to kind of get an idea of what that would look like. And then we also got 15 Rhode Island red laying hens. And that worked out really good. Jamie, also, we renovated the chicken coop. It was a 12-year-old, or had been at least 12 years since this chicken coop had chickens in it. It needed a total gut. So we had gutted it. We took out tons, bags and bags of rotted insulation, rat poop, mouse poop, dead mouse carcasses in the insulation. We took out the walls, we took out a lot of the flooring, and we totally changed the look of the chicken coop. I have before and after pictures, and it was quite a transformation. So, and actually we didn't get it ready in time for the chickens. We received these chicks, and so we had them in our garage for a month. And oh my gosh, that was probably the worst smelling garage ever. After a while, we were opening up the garage door, trying to get some airflow going in there. It was pretty bad. So we got the chicken coop finished, so that was great. Got the new run for them, and it worked out well. So last year we had butchered the Cornish cross and the Western rustics. We only had 14 of them to butcher. So this last spring, we decided to get 25 of the same type of birds. We did actually 15 Western rustics and 10 Cornish cross, because we just found that it might have been also why they were so big last year, was because we actually let them go until they were 10, almost 11 weeks old. So the Cornish cross were quite large, and some of them were as much as 7 pounds. So that's like a small turkey. So this year we didn't let them go the 10 weeks. We only let them go the 8 weeks. And we just processed them actually last weekend. And the Cornish cross, we had one that was actually over 6 pounds, but most of them were anywhere in between 4 and 5 pounds on the average size. So that's actually a nice size chicken for us to have meat. There's 3 of us in our family, but we have a lot of friends and family over for dinner as well. So we did the Cornish cross. We did some of the Western rustics, but we found that they needed to be a little bit bigger because we had one that was as small as only 2 pounds, and there was a couple that were 3 pounds. So this year, when we got the Cornish cross and the Western rustics, we also purchased 30 dual purpose birds. And so we got 15 black Australorps and we got 15 buff Orpingtons. And with the dual purpose, we also got them unsexed. So any of the laying hens we are keeping, and any roosters, we will be butchering the roosters as well. We don't really want any roosters, not yet anyways. We're not ready for that. We still have 3 weeks before we will be processing the dual purpose roosters. We're waiting until they're 16 weeks old before we butcher them. And so when we do process the dual purpose roosters, we will process the rest of the Western rustics that we have. So here my husband has built just a portable little chicken coop. And these ones here, we have just the Western rustics left here, and we just move this around the yard so that they can pick at the bugs and be able to get any food. We still feed them we feed them a chick starter food, and then we give them their water with a little splash of apple cider vinegar in the water too. And then we just move this around the yard so that they can somewhat free range, pick up bugs. And then over here we have these are our Rhode Island Reds that we got last year. Some of them are going through a molting stage, but these are the Rhode Island Reds that we got. They are our layers that we've had for a year. Then we have our buff Orpingtons, and we have our black Australorps. So I think when I count them out, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 black Australorp roosters, and we have 1 buff Orpington rooster. And they like to use those little roosts. I haven't seen anybody use the teeter-totter yet. Another animal that we decided to get this year was we picked up a couple of meat pigs. So we found a fellow through our local feed store that we received his information from. So we gave him a call last winter, and he had a couple of piglets that had just been born and was going to be ready. We wanted them for the middle of April. We figured we could have things ready, have a fenced in area for them, and that would give us enough time to have things ready for these pigs. So when we called him at the beginning, it would have been probably the first week in April, we had called the fellow that was raising these pigs, and he apologized because he didn't have my contact information. The 2 piglets that we were supposed to be getting that would have been 8 weeks old, they actually didn't make it. Not sure. I mean, there was a story behind it, but whatever. But he said he had a couple of pigs that he would sell to us at a cheaper price, and they were 4 months old. So we were like, okay, we'll do that. So we got the 2 pigs. We got them the middle of April, and they were sisters. And they are a Berkshire cross with Landrace. Landrace, I think that's how you pronounce it. And so we picked up these 2 sisters and got them back here. We got them April the 17th, and we were going to process. We had the butcher all set up. We were going to process them the middle of July. So we had that all set up, and then on June the 13th, one of the sisters had babies. We had no idea that she was pregnant. The fellow never told us anything. I actually thought she was sick because she wasn't eating. And I mean, we've never raised pigs before, so we had no idea what even to look for. So the one day I thought she was sick because she wasn't eating. And then the next morning, or that night into the morning, here she had 7 piglets. 4 of the 7 made it, and 3, I think she ended up laying on them during the birth. So we have 4 piglets from the mama, and we still have those piglets. They are just over 2 months old now. We did process the one pig that did not, her sister, Dumpling. So there was Dumpling and Sumai. That's what we named them. So Dumpling, we still had processed. So we actually ended up getting about 175 pounds of meat from Dumpling. So thank you, Dumpling. And now I think we've decided we're going to keep Sumai, the mama that had the babies. At the time when she first had the babies, we were like, oh my gosh, what have we done? We just wanted a couple of pigs that we could raise for meat pigs and butcher them. Like, we were going to take the whole pig, and have it butchered for ourselves. My son and my brother and sister-in-law were going to take the other pig and butcher that one for themselves. And then this happened, so we ended up only butchering the one. But now we actually have 4 piglets. They're all females. We didn't have to do any castration or anything like that. There was some medical attention for one of the piglets because mama had accidentally stepped on her, and she had a hole in her shoulder that was into the flesh. So we had to treat that with penicillin, and we were flushing out the wound and giving her penicillin. We also had to give all of them an iron shot, because when piglets are born, we found out they're deficient in iron. So we gave them their iron shot, and Jamie also found out that he had to cut out some of their sharp little teeth, because they have 2 pointy teeth on each side on the bottom and 2 pointy teeth on each side at the top. So he cut those out. And the reason why they did that was because when they're nursing on the mama, those teeth can be quite sharp, and if it hurts, then she won't nurse those piglets. So we did that. We have decided to keep the piglets, and we are going to let my brother and sister-in-law they're going to take one when they're ready to be butchered. And my son is going to take one as well, and he wants a whole pig to himself. We will probably take another one because, I mean, 175 pounds of meat really only lasts you so long. We got a lot of bacon, we got pork chops, pork steak, roasts, ham, pork hocks, sausage. No, we didn't get any sausage. The reason why we didn't get any sausage was when we went to the butcher, he said that because she's only has 175 pounds of meat, he needs 27 pounds of scrap meat to be able to do the sausages. And there just wasn't enough. He says when you do something like that, you would need, 2, maybe 3 pigs and take that and get that. That's where you'd get those 27 pounds of meat to make the sausages. So we didn't get any sausages. We got ground pork as well. And we also got spare ribs from that pig. So we have 3 pigs spoken for, and then there's a 4th pig, and I'm sure we won't have a problem selling her either. So let's go take a look at those pigs. I just gave them some water. It's easier to do it from this side. So we have the little black one on the left, that's Pygwat. This spotted one, that's Piglet. She's the one that had the wound that we had to treat. This other spotted one, that's Cow, Sumai, and Hans. My son named Hans. Oh, and there's Buzz, another one of our animals. Buzz, we ended up getting, we got Buzz as a kitten, and he has a sister, and that's Momo. So we got Buzz and Momo because my husband wanted some shop cats, and we wanted something, to deal with the mice. So eventually we do want to get a dog. We'd like to get a couple of dogs. Right now I haven't really found too much. The price of animals is just skyrocketed. Got a lot of COVID prices going on with the animals, so I'm just gonna grab this dish. I have, in the morning we give the pigs and the piglets the hog feed, and so we have it in 2 separate dishes because they don't like to seem to share, or they seem to not like to share. So we have 2 feed buckets that we feed them from, and that works out well. This one, I also feed them scraps in the afternoon. So sometimes my brother-in-law and sister-in-law give us a lot of their food scraps. Sometimes it's buns, bread, tomatoes, we've gotten blueberries, any type of vegetables, lettuce. They just give us all of what they were just going to throw out anyways, and we feed it to the pigs. I also pick up discontinued fruit from one of our grocery stores. They will have a rack of discontinued fruit, so I will pick up bags of apples and bananas, and I feed those to the pigs as well for scraps. They absolutely love that. Next year's garden season, though, we are planning on doing a few no-dig beds, no-till beds. I think that's what you call them. We're going to try some of those, and we want to grow some root vegetables. I want to do some collard greens, and a lot of those vegetables that I plan on growing quite a bit of, those are actually going to be, I want to grow excess of those, so I have a lot of excess fruit, vegetables, and that's basically for the chickens and the pigs to be able to feed them those scraps as well. This year I just had vertical raised beds, which is something I've been wanting to do, and that has actually worked out quite well for me this year. It was a bit of a learning curve as well. I tried to pack as much as I could into these raised beds and see how they do. I think next year I won't plant things so tightly. I just tried to get as much as I could into each of the beds. But I found that especially with things like the spaghetti squash and the butternut squash, just the way that they spread out and sprawl, like I did have them growing up the vertical panels, but you're constantly having to make sure that you're weaving them through there, and that's fine. But I think for next year, like I planted eggplants in front and Brussels sprouts in front of my spaghetti squash, and that's where I went wrong. Those are quite big. They get quite big, and I think they would have done better if they would have not had more room. They needed more room. So that's something that I would do differently. I would also put my pole beans on one of the vertical supports as well. I just had it on a straight up and down support. It wasn't on an arch. And I found that they grew past that vertical support. And I think they would have done better. I think I'll show you. Okay, so these are my pole beans, and they have grown so far over the top that they are just spreading out so far past, which I'm going to have to do some picking, that I think they would thrive better on one of the vertical supports, because this is my spaghetti squash, and look how far up the support it has grown. The butternut squash has not made it as far as the spaghetti squash has. The tomatoes do really good on just the straight up and down supports. So I would definitely keep tomatoes on that. I think I'll probably, instead of beans on this one, I will put tomatoes there next year. And those tomatoes, they need to be tied up. They're like, look how far they're coming out from the side. So we got to do some tying up on those. Just want to do a quick little show. Look at that. Got tomatoes ripening. On this other support, I would definitely do peas again on a straight up and down support. They don't seem to grow too much over the top of it. And then on this one, I have the melons. And I mean, I will try melons again. I actually am just seeing, if you can see this, there's a little melon right there. And it's almost the end of August, so I'm not sure if it's going to develop enough before it freezes. We have such a short season. Cucumbers did good, and I have lots of cucumbers on there, so I would probably do the cucumbers again on the vertical arch supports. These are tomatoes on just the regular straight up and down support. I think I would do my pickling cucumbers on an arch support. These ones are actually, that pickling cucumber is actually went all the way up, and I've started training it to go off to the side. It's right alongside my morning glory. And this pickling cucumber is making its way up. I mean, it doesn't have much more time. We live in a zone 3 growing season, and we basically have June, July, August, and sometimes we can go till the end of September, going into October before we actually get a hard freeze. We might get a few light freezes in September, but we usually don't get a hard freeze until the end of September, beginning of October. So with us only having 3 good months out of the year, it's really hard to be able to have things like melons, especially I think the melons. Like my watermelon never did anything. It is still only 6 inches high, and we had a hot summer, one of the hottest summers that we have had in a long time. So that goes to show you, I didn't think I was going to get any eggplants. I've never grown eggplant before. I like eggplant, and that's why I wanted to try it. And I didn't think I was going to get any eggplant, but I just want to show you, I have 2. So now, there's one. And over here is another one. Whoops, there we go. There's the other one. Okay, this property, we bought it. It's 40 years old. We have started doing renovations on it. When we first moved into it 2 years ago, we did the master bedroom, and we just painted the ensuite of the master bedroom. But the master bedroom, we ripped out the carpet, we put in a new window, we painted, we put in new flooring. And so now we're working on the kitchen and the living room. And it was a total gut. We didn't gut out the walls. The outside walls we didn't gut out. We did take out one wall that separated the kitchen from the dining and the living room, so now it's all open. And we have put in a peninsula to where that wall that we took out, that now has a peninsula in it. We've put in all new flooring. We've put in a new garden door where the patio door was, and there were 2 windows in the kitchen. We removed one of the bigger windows, and the smaller window we actually installed a larger window. And we did not change the windows in the living room, which I would really like to change those windows, but that's just not in the budget. I think we've gone over our budget with this. It was an expensive renovation. We definitely upgraded to a higher quality cabinets. We put in a double wall oven. I like to do a lot of cooking and entertaining, so I wanted a double wall oven. I put in a bigger fridge. I also put in a new dishwasher, new microwave. The microwave, I decided I wanted on the bottom cabinets. I know a lot of people that have them up above, but I decided to put it in the peninsula on the bottom. And we are going with the higher end countertops. We've decided to put in quartz countertops. It'll bring up the value of the house, that's for sure. It's kind of funny. We were just talking about our 5-year plan, and we have been in this house for 2 years, and we're already talking about getting into something bigger. I like that we're only about 5 minutes from downtown, and we are in a rural area. We do live on 1.25 acres, and it's manageable, but some of the things that I don't like about this property is we are very close to a very busy road. And so there's been a lot of times where I'll be talking, trying to do a video, and these big trucks or just vehicles are constantly going up and down this road, and it's a very busy road. So I don't really care for that. I do like the layout of the property. As far as I like the house, it's got good bone structure. It has a lot of good potential to it. My husband loves the shop, or should I say shops. There's 2 shops. We actually used the back shop when we processed the meat birds this last time. We had a little bit of an assembly line going. It was just Jamie and I doing them. Last year we had my son helping us, but he was out of town working, so it was just Jamie and I doing it. And then me, I had shoulder surgery 4 weeks ago. Actually, 4 weeks ago tomorrow, I had shoulder surgery, so I'm limited on what I can do. And so he had to get the chicken, or catch the chicken, put the chicken into one of the cones, and so then he cut its neck, let it bleed out. Then he had to dip it in the hot water for however length of time. We rented a chicken plucker, so then he had to put it on the chicken plucker and pluck out the feathers of the chicken. And then he hands it to me. That's where I come in. So I had gloves on, and I was plucking out the excess feathers that didn't get removed off of the chicken plucker. Once I plucked out all the excess feathers, then I gave it back to him. He gutted it and cleaned it all up, hands it back to me. I flush it out with water, clean water, rinse it all off, and then I put it into the ice water. That was my job. Pick the feathers, clean them out. Then it goes, he definitely did most of the work. And it worked out not too bad. We probably, by the time we got ourselves organized and started, it took us about 4 hours for the 2 of us. We did 16 birds. We did stop for lunch in that 4 hours and then finished, and I'm talking like clean up everything and putting them, we picked up some of these sealable, bags for processing chickens. After you process the chickens, then you put the chicken into the bag, and we had hot water in a pot. You have to have it at 195 degrees, the hot water. You dip the chicken in the bag into the hot water. It seals around the chicken, so when he pulls it out, it's sealed around the chicken. He gives it a twist and then I bring the zap strap, and my job was to clip the zap strap onto it, and then we put them in the freezer. So we processed 16 birds. We got 70 pounds of meat from those 16 birds. We will be processing 16 more birds in the middle of September. So we'll see how much more we get from that. This is why we decided we wanted to do some homesteading. We have chicken in our freezer. We have eggs, fresh eggs, daily. We have pork in our freezer now. We have more pork that's coming. These pigs, the baby pigs, Usually you butcher them at about 6 months old. So we won't be butchering them until probably January. And I'm not sure what that's going to look like. Doing that in the middle of winter. I can't imagine that I don't know. We will still take it to a butcher. We have to get the pig ready, so we are the one that dispatches the pig and guts it, skins it, and then we take it into the butcher, and then we let him take care of the rest of it for us because we're not experienced. I think we would like to get to a point where we would be able to do that ourselves, but we're just not there yet. This is like only year 2 on this property, and I think it's going okay. We definitely make a lot of mistakes, but you learn from your mistakes. And I'm not sure if we're going to be doing any other type of animals. It all depends. It would be nice to get more property and maybe do some permaculture as well. I'm not sure. It would be nice to have beef also. That would kind of complete as far as the meats that we eat. We do eat a lot of chicken and a lot of pork. We like the beef too. So, but I don't think we could have beef on this property. We would definitely need more space. And Jamie would like to have hay fields. That's something that he's interested in doing also, so that we would be able to provide feed for our animals as well. So it's just some things that we're thinking about looking at maybe in our 5-year plan. This is something that we probably would have benefited implementing when our kids were younger, but it's actually worked out well, as my oldest son is an avid hunter and he enjoys helping us out as much as he can when he's not working, and he's the one that actually helped us dispatch this pig that we had taken to the butcher. He helped us dispatch it. He was the one that had shot it and gutted it and skinned it for us. And that's the first time he's ever did a pig before. He's all of his hunting experiences with moose, deer, elk, caribou, bear, goat, more up like mountain goats, not your actual tame goats that you have in your livestock. And he does a lot of fishing. So it's good to have somebody that is experienced in that aspect of it. For me, I don't want to dispatch the animal. I don't want to gut it. I don't want to skin it. I will cook it. I don't mind doing the jobs that I do have to do with as far as the chickens go. I don't mind, it doesn't bother me to see the process of the chickens or of the pigs, but I don't want to kill the chickens. That's not something that I would enjoy doing. I don't mind plucking the feathers, and I don't mind cleaning them up. And we actually also dehydrated the chickens' feet in my dehydrator, and we use that as dog treats for my son's dog. So we pretty much used all of the chicken, except for, of course, the feathers and its internal organs. We didn't use any of that. And we, yeah. So far in the last 2 years, we've enjoyed. There hasn't been anything that we have done that we would say, oh well, we'll never do that again, other than maybe some gardening mistakes, or maybe the way that we processed the chickens the very first year. We learned from that, and we had a different setup this year compared to the first year. So each year it's going to get better and better, and it's just learn as we go. And that's how a lot of homesteaders do things. They learn as they go. We don't really have a community, a homestead community yet. I know they're out there. We just haven't gotten ourselves. I think that's probably one of the hardest parts, is our friends that we hang out with, chum around with, that type of thing. They aren't much into this type of a lifestyle, except for my son, my oldest son. He enjoys this type of thing. So that's beneficial for us and him. But as far as other friends and some family, this is definitely not for them. They think it's good that, for us, that we want to do that, but that's not something that they would be interested in doing. So I think we need to kind of branch out and find other homestead communities, because it would be nice to be able to share or help each other out when we are processing, and we would gain knowledge and experience from someone else. Some other things that we have added to our homestead that did not have it before was all the raised beds. Jamie added those to our homestead. We have added some fruit trees. We've added 2 apple trees, and we added a sour cherry tree. Over in my, there's another part. I will show you that. So when we first brought our pigs home, we put them in this fenced-in structure, and this is where they started, was in this area. Once we took them out, we put the black plastic on the ground over the whole thing. I picked up some fruit, bushes, berries, that type of thing. So I have put in, we had the sour cherry tree, which is this here. We had the sour cherry tree before the pigs came, and we had to put a fence around that to keep the deer away from it, because it was just eating all of the leaves off of it. Since we have had the pigs over here and we put the black plastic, I have planted raspberries, but our problem is we kind of did this, or I did this wrong. I dug the holes, I put the raspberries in, and then I thought all I need to do is put some straw around them. Well, this has just not worked out. I have a lot of weeds in here. So we're going to try and figure something else out that we could put in here to get rid of these weeds. I've planted These are my hascaps. I have 2 hascap plants. I've planted, this is an elderberry over here. And I also planted a little, that's an elderberry as well. It doesn't seem to be doing as well as that one. I also put in some blueberries. And that one's not doing as well as this one is. Over on the other side of the sour cherry tree, I actually want to plant my strawberries. And I have my strawberries right now in a raised bed. So I'm hoping that I can move my strawberries over to this side. Probably I'm going to do that next month. But I need to figure out a better system as far as putting them over here, because just the weeds are kind of crazy. I need to research that part of it a little bit more and find out a better way to have these berries over. I like the idea of having the fenced yard. That keeps the deer out of it from eating everything, which we have struggled with, definitely. So we have a few more things. And like I say, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to learn from your mistakes. And that's what we're doing. We're learning from our mistakes, and that's okay. I don't have a problem of learning from my mistakes. And I'm okay with that. We actually wanted to start a homestead probably 7 years ago. But at that time, my mom had passed away, and my dad was living in Salmon Arm. And he wanted to move in with us. So we were kind of looking at properties at that time, but he wanted to move in with us, and we ended up building a brand new house. We put in a basement suite in the house, and he lived in the basement suite. And then his health went. He ended up having a major stroke, and his health deteriorated quite quickly, and he ended up in a seniors village here in town. And then he passed away 3 years ago, and that's kind of when we had decided that, okay, we sold our brand new house 2 years ago, and we bought this place. And so it's definitely something that has been in the works as far as us wanting to do that. It's just at the time, 7 years ago, we decided that we would be there for my dad and help him out and have him move in with us. And then once he was gone, then we decided, you know what, the house was beautiful. I mean, it was a beautiful brand new house. We had a phenomenal view of the lake from our back deck. The problem that we had was you have neighbors 10 feet beside you on each side. We had no yard. It was just a small chunk of property. I don't even know if it was a quarter of an acre. And so that's kind of what got things going. We started looking at properties, and we found this one because it was fairly close to town, and we at the time we wanted that because my son that does live at home with us, he has autism. He is 29 years old. He is somewhat independent. He goes and walks and takes the city bus into town, goes to the programs that he needs to go to, goes to his work that he needs to go to. But we wanted something close that he could still do those things. And we are still here for him. So when I say he's somewhat independent, he still needs our guidance. He still needs that support from us. I mean, eventually, he'll probably be able to live on his own and be quite successful with support from a worker or that type of thing. So we're still working on that. That's a work in progress. But we would like to get something else. Optimally, I would love to have a bed and breakfast on our homestead and run a bed and breakfast from our homestead, or a farm to table. We've talked about that too. I like to entertain. I like to have friends and family over. I think either one of those, farm to table or bed and breakfast, would be good where we could. Now, I just want to say homesteading might not be for everyone. And we aren't like right in the throes of everything. But for us, even just starting out, raising chickens, raising pigs, having a garden, getting fruit trees, having berry bushes, we're on a good start. We have a good start at it. And we're quite happy with what, we have been able to do so far. And again, like I say, it's definitely a learning curve. We watch a lot of videos. I read tons of books. I'm always reading something about gardening. Right now I'm reading about fermenting. I would like to do fermented pickles with my pickling cucumbers that I'm getting. I would also like to do my own sauerkraut from my cabbages. I would like to ferment some radishes, kale. I've heard kale is quite nice fermented too. It would be nice to do some kimchi also. So I'm reading up on that and kind of I'm going to be experimenting with that once we start bringing in our vegetables from the garden. I already do a lot of canning. I have always had a garden. I've gardened for I've been gardening for probably the last 35 years. I've always seemed to have had a garden. This is definitely the best this year that my garden has done. As far as with my tomatoes, I've always struggled with having tomatoes, and I've always ended up having to buy tomatoes. I've always had to buy cucumbers from fruit stands and that type of thing. Just never have had success with tomatoes and cucumbers. And so far this year, I've had lots of success. Peppers, there's another one I haven't had very much success with. I have peppers out there that are growing like crazy and they're starting to ripen. So, and my little eggplants. I'm pretty excited about my little eggplants. Yay! It's exciting. It's exciting when things work out. And, on the most part, we've had a lot of success with the garden. We've had success with the chickens so far. Oh, sure, we've had chickens eating the eggs after they've been laid. And Jamie ended up building a rollaway, the rollaway nesting boxes. So when they lay the egg rolls away from the chicken. That has seemed to work good. We've had a couple of times where they've kind of used their beaks and trying to pull the egg back towards them, but and then it keeps rolling to the back. So yeah, it's been an experience for sure, with the pigs and the piglets. We were pretty overwhelmed when Sumai first had her pigs. We just weren't ready for that, but I mean, we jumped in with both feet. We dealt with what we had to deal with, and it ended up being a success. So we need to focus on that. We need to focus on the successes and not so much on the unsuccessful parts, because I think the successes have outweighed the unsuccessful, and that's what you need to focus on is the success. And you can always change the way that you do things. So thanks for listening. Thanks for joining me today to talk about why we decided to homestead. And we'll talk again soon. Bye for now.